1968 in the United States was a terrible year. In the escalating Vietnam conflict, the North Vietnamese Army began the Tet Offensive, striking hundreds of strategically important targets in the south and showing no signs of weakness or defeat, as was originally thought by the American military. On April 4th, the same day as Apollo 4, the first launch of the Saturn V lifted off the pad, civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. A few months later, presidential hopeful Robert Kennedy was also assassinated on June 5th. With a desperate nation needing an achievement to be proud of, the burden fell on the young National Aeronautics and Space Administration, which was busy testing the hardware that would potentially land a man on the surface of the moon before midnight, December 31st, 1969, only a year away. However, as the Apollo Block II hardware was at this point problematic, the two elements of the Apollo spacecraft were both having their own problems. The command and service module was heavy, and nearly 2 years behind schedule after the flash fire in 1966 killed the crew of Apollo 1 during a pad test. The lunar module was even further behind schedule, with Grumman laboring over weight and safety problems. The second manned Apollo mission was originally planned as a test of the lunar module in Earth orbit, after a CSM flight on Apollo 7. However, in September of 1968, NASA received a tip from the Central Intelligence Agency that the Russians had successfully recovered Zond 5, a circumlunar spacecraft that contained 2 tortoises. This changed everything. Now, NASA management realized that if Russia sent men into lunar orbit before Americans landed on the moon, the Russians would have won the space race. Further complicating the Apollo 8 flight plan was the fact that Lunar Module 3 would not be ready until the following March. So a decision was made to scrap the lunar module and change the flight profile of Apollo 8 from one into Earth orbit to a CSM-only round-trip orbital flight to the moon, some 218,096 miles away. That flight was Apollo 8, and it was given to Frank Borman, his Gemini flying partner Jim Lovell, and rookie Bill Anders. It would be the first manned flight aboard the gigantic 33-story, 363-foot-tall Saturn V, the most powerful machine ever built. The second Saturn V test flight, Apollo 6, was a partial failure, and engineers were concerned that the Saturn V may not be as reliable as initially predicted by its designers at the Marshall Space Flight Center. However, time to further test components was a luxury the Apollo program did not have, and Apollo 8 was given a go for launch in the early winter morning of December 21st, 1968.
T-minus 5 minutes and counting. T-minus 5. At this point, the Apollo access arm should be coming back, and it is now moving back at the 320-foot level to its fully retracted position high atop the tower at Pad A. Our countdown still proceeding at this time at the 4-minute mark in the countdown. The overall count will be turned over to the launch vehicle test conductor. Ray Roberts, the launch vehicle test conductor, will conduct the final 4 minutes as all different aspects move over to the launch vehicle test conductor's channel. The automatic sequence, as reported, will come in at the 3-minute and 6-second mark in the countdown. We're standing by at 4 minutes, 16 seconds and counting. This is launch control. The first stage liquid oxygen tank has been pressurized, and the pressure is still building up. 1 minute, 45 seconds and counting. We have a vehicle weighing 6.2 million pounds on the pad. Interestingly enough, some 1,200 pounds of that weight is just frost on the side of the vehicle, created by the extremely low temperatures of the propellants. Coming up in 90 seconds, mark, T-minus 90 seconds and counting. The Apollo 8 crew standing by, spacecraft commander Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, Bill Anders. We now have a report that the liquid hydrogen tank on the third stage is pressurized. 1 minute, 15 seconds. All third stage propellants pressurized at this time as we come up on the 60-second mark on a flight to the moon. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. The vehicle now is completely pressurized. We're coming up on a power transfer shortly. minus 50 seconds and counting. We have the power transfer. We're now on the flight batteries within the launch vehicle. 45 seconds. Final reports coming from Frank Borman at this time. Final look at the switch list aboard the spacecraft. 35 seconds and counting. We'll lead up to an ignition sequence start at 8.9 seconds. This will lead up, as we build up the thrust, to a liftoff. If all goes well, it's 0. We've just passed the 25-second mark in the count.
As Borman, Lovell, and Anders shivered and froze inside their Apollo capsule, the 5 F-1 engines beneath them ignited, and upon 7.5 million pound thrust, 160 million horsepower, 20-ton of fuel a second column of pure rocket fire, the Saturn V serial AS-503 soared skyward.
13, 12, 11, 10, 9. We have ignition sequence start. The engines are on. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We have 7:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Roger. How do you hear, Houston? That's clear. Point Bravo, Apollo 8. We're go, flight right on. ECOM? Looking good, flight. GNC? We're good, flight. Booster? Go, flight. Okay, Capcom, we look good. Apollo 8, you're looking good. Yeah, really, Roger. Roger on the cabin. Flight Fido, trajectory go. Roger, Fido. How you, booster? Where's the flight? Guidance, flight, how you? Looks good, flight. Real good. Okay. Stand by for 1 Charlie. Mark 1 Charlie. Mark, mode 1 Charlie, Apollo 8. 1 Staging status, booster. Go, flight, Fido. Go, flight, guidance. Guidance, flight. Go, flight. Staging status. We're go. Go for staging, Captain. Apollo 8, Houston, you are inboard out, flight. Staging, over. Inboard out, flight. Copy, inboard out, about on time, huh? Right. How you, Econ? Looking good, flight. Steady, a little noisy. GNC, we're go, flight. That work, you get that CP back in? But checking, flight. Okay. ETO 2 minutes, flight. Okay. S1C cutout. Roger. S2 ignition. Roger, S2. All engines good? PU shift. Thrust looks good, flight. All engines. Roger. Flight Fido, trajectory go. Roger, Fido. Flight range safety go. Roger, no more reports, please. Thank you. Roger. Confirm second plane set, bud. Roger. How you, Fido? We're go, flight right on. Roger. Guidance initiate, flight. Roger.
It took Apollo 8 nearly 3 rocket stages and 11 minutes and 28 seconds of acceleration to enter Earth orbit, and for the next 2 hours, they circled the Earth 1.5 times, checking out the systems and computers that had to work in order for them to commit their vehicle to a second burn of the 3rd stage, a burn called TLI, or Translunar Injection. This burn would place the Apollo Command and Service Module with its then useless S-4B booster on a 3-day course to the moon. After the burn successfully occurred, they separated from the booster and settled down for the 75-hour coast that followed. Even a minor bit of stomach sickness from Commander Borman couldn't ruin this trip, but nothing could prepare the astronauts for what they would see in the first few hours on the outbound trip to the moon.
Apollo 8, Houston. Go ahead, Houston. Apollo 8, you are go for TLI, over. Roger, understand, we're go for TLI. Apollo 8 coming up on 20 seconds to ignition. Mark it, and you're looking very good. Roger. Ignition. Roger, ignition. Apollo 8, Houston, you're looking good. Apollo 8, Houston, trajectory and guidance look good, over. Roger, Apollo 8, good here. Apollo 8, Houston, you're looking good here, right down the center line. Roger, Apollo 8. Okay, we got Seco right on the money. Roger, understand Seco.
After a good night's sleep, the astronauts woke on the second day to perform a small 3-second mid-course burn with their command and service module engine, both to test the engine's capability and to refine their trajectory to a point only 60 miles above the lunar surface. However, that day's activities and the following 6 days would all include a live black and white television broadcast from the Apollo 8 spacecraft, mankind's first live images of Earth in its entirety.
Transmission is coming to you approximately halfway between the moon and the Earth. We've been 31 hours, about 20 minutes into flight. We have about less than 40 hours left to go to the moon. Showing you the Earth, it's a beautiful, beautiful view with predominantly blue background and just huge covers of white clouds, particularly one very strong vortex up near the Terminator. Very, very beautiful.
After 70 hours of flight, the point neared where NASA would have to commit the astronauts to Lunar Orbit Insertion, or LOI. However, there was great cause for concern. What if the command and service module engine stopped working once they were in lunar orbit? There was no backup. They would be trapped there forever. After checking all the systems again, and a third time, the capsule communicator gave Apollo 8 a reluctant go, and Borman, Lovell, and Anders, and their vehicle disappeared behind the far side of the moon to make their retrofire burn. NASA would not know the fate of the astronauts for another 32 minutes.
Apollo 8, Houston, 1 minute to LOS, all systems go. Alright, now you're going, command reset, tape recorder forward low bit rate. Roger. Safe journey, guys. Thanks a lot, Trips. We'll see you on the other side.
However, this milestone of human achievement was not to be soured by predictions of failure. Exactly on time, tracking stations on the ground received a signal from Apollo 8 as it emerged above the horizon on the other side of the moon, safely in lunar orbit, where it would stay for the next 20 hours, taking photographs and filming the surface so that future flights could better navigate in the lunar sphere of influence.
Right, we've got it. Apollo 8 now in lunar orbit. There's a cheer in this room. This is Apollo Control Houston, switching now to the voice of Jim Lovell.
Go ahead, Houston, this is Apollo 8. Very complete. Our orbit is 160.9 by 60.5. 169.1 by 60.5.
Apollo 8, this is Houston. Roger, 169.1 by 60.5. Good to hear your voice.
Once again, they prepared to transmit live images from Apollo 8 to television viewers across America, mankind's first close-up images of the moon.
Evaporator out in the primary loop is okay? That's good, fine. Okay. Apollo 8, Houston, over. Houston, this is Apollo 8 with the TV going, over. Apollo 8, this is Houston, reading you loud and clear. We see your TV. It's a little bit clear. Roger, the moon is very bright and not too distinct in this area. I'll give you a shot of the horizon. Roger.
Houston, this is Apollo 8. We're going to terminate our program for this pass and get on with preparations for LOI 2 if you say we're go.
Apollo 8, this is Houston, roger.
Okay, signing off until the 9th rev, Apollo 8.
Apollo 8, Houston, roger. Thank you for the look, Jerry. Apollo 8, Houston, roger, thank you for the look.
After stowing the television camera, they resumed their flight plan, and 15 hours into lunar orbit, on nothing more than pure chance, Bill Anders happened to notice what would become the most memorable moment of Apollo 8, the first witness of Earthrise, their home planet rising above the lunar horizon as they orbited the moon. Fortunately, Anders had in his hands a telephoto camera with a roll of color film. The images he took would be among some of the greatest photographs ever taken in the 20th century. On their 8th revolution around the moon, nearly 17.5 hours after entering lunar orbit, Apollo 8 performed a second television transmission. This would famously become known as the Christmas Eve broadcast. In a beautiful and poetic combination of science and spirituality, the crew of Apollo 8 read the first few verses of the book of Genesis, which was placed in fireproof paper in the back of their flight manual.
We are now approaching lunar sunrise, and for all the people back on Earth, the crew of Apollo 8 has a message that we would like to send to you. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And from the crew of Apollo 8, we close with good night, good luck, a Merry Christmas, and God bless all of you on the good earth.
Finally, after 10 lunar orbits in the space of 20 hours, Apollo 8 was given a go for TEI, or Trans-Earth Injection. Lead flight director Chris Kraft would later admit that this was one of the most apprehensive moments in his entire life. The disappearance of Apollo 8 to light its engine behind the moon a second time, out of contact with NASA.
And at 88 hours 51 minutes, we show loss of signal with the spacecraft. We are now about 28 minutes prior to our trans-Earth injection maneuver. As the spacecraft went over the horizon, capsule communicator Ken Mattingly passed along for the second time the word that all systems are a-go, and we got very terse Roger back from the spacecraft.
If NASA received a signal from Apollo 8 25 minutes after the scheduled burn time, they would know that everything had occurred without a hitch. However, if Apollo 8's signal came 32 minutes after the scheduled burn time, they would know that for some reason, Apollo 8 could not make the burn out of lunar orbit. In a bizarre turn of oddly coincidental events, the signal from Apollo 8 did not come until 33 minutes after the scheduled ignition time, but not because the burn wasn't made. Frank Borman simply forgot to aim Apollo 8's high-gain antenna the correct direction. In the words of elated CMP Jim Lovell,
Houston, Apollo 8, over.
Hello, Apollo 8. Loud clear.
Roger. Please be informed there is a Santa Claus.
That's affirmative. You're the best ones to know.
unlike the silent, awestruck crew that existed within the spacecraft during the outbound trip, the following 3 days would see an elated, happy crew, excited to return to their home planet after a successful voyage around the moon. 2 more television transmissions would follow, and on December 27, 1968, Apollo 8 became the first manned spacecraft to re-enter Earth's atmosphere at lunar speeds, nearly 25,000 miles per hour.
What we thought we'd do today was just show you a little bit about life inside Apollo 8. We've shown you the scenes of the moon, scenes of the Earth, and we thought we'd invite you to our home. It's been our home at least for 4 days. You can see on the instrument panel.
The Earth looks a little bigger to us today. Not much, but it's somewhat bigger. I'm sitting over the right-hand seat now. Bill's got the TV camera. Frank's helping him out, aiming it directly to hit the Earth.
So until then, I guess this is the Apollo 8 crew signing off, and we'll see you back on that good Earth very soon.
Roger, Frank. Adios.
The mission had worked perfectly, and the crew received letters and fan mail that was unlike any other manned spaceflight in history. They were the new NASA celebrities. These letters came from such people as Lyndon Johnson, Charles Lindbergh, and even a young woman in the American Midwest who simply stated, "You saved 1968."
And to express our gratitude to them for providing the strength and the inspiration to you men that will permit you to accomplish this great feat. But we know that all the engineering marvels in the world could not take away one whit of our excitement and admiration for the three of you that were out there in the vastness of space.
Hi, I'm Jackson Tyler. If you enjoyed this video, I strongly urge you to purchase the Apollo 8 DVD Leaving the Cradle from Spacecraft Films. It was because of their efforts that made this video possible, and I only showed 26 minutes out of a DVD set that offers 4 hours of premium footage that cannot be found anywhere else. Thank you very much.